Greetings, friends. Welcome to the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. I hope that you guys are having a fabulous day today. I think that it has been pretty hot here in Florida. I know some of you guys are bracing for Hurricane Aaron, and thoughts and prayers out to all of you. With that said, I want to get right into our announcements. So first things first, the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with Dr. India White will be featured on the X Factor EDU network, hosted by Dr. Matthew Joseph. You can also find it on Spotify. You can also find this podcast on my main social media platforms. So you've got Facebook is in Miss India White, LinkedIn is The India White, Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach, Instagram is Indie238, YouTube is India White 123. Thank you for my subscribers. And TikTok is Dr. India White. I also have Threads, which is Indie238, and Blue Sky as well. Check me out also, guys. The website www.india-white.com for books, blogs, to schedule me for a grit training, a speaking event, a coaching event. Thank you to all of those that have reached out to me. I'm super excited about some of the conferences and events that we have coming up, including we've got the Math Elementary conference. Thank you, Melanie, and her team for that. That'll be in a few weeks that I'll be speaking there, but that conference is already starting. It's kind of like a ongoing elementary math PD. You can check that out and see many of the main speakers across the nation will be there. I'm also excited about the NCSM and NCTM conferences, also the Making Math Moments conference, and the Black Kids Love Math Summit in November and beyond. And thank you to everyone that has ever given me your platform or an opportunity to be among you. I don't take it lightly. And I love being on these platforms because, I hear so many fabulous people, so I get to learn from them. But it also is very humbling for me to know just where my beginnings all started, being a homeless student and having those last 2 years of homelessness and then going into a college dorm, having teachers tell me that I couldn't do math, and then to now know that I can actually be a nationwide voice and a blessing to many through various methods. And so I'm thankful for everyone that has given me an opportunity, given me a platform to join you as we're doing this work to bridge the achievement gap. I just really could not have seen that coming as an once underserved youth that I was. And so with that said, I'm excited to join you guys on these platforms and even going beyond and doing other great works from the end of this year all the way to next year as well. I also wanted to remind you guys of the Grit workshop. It's on the Grassroots Workshops website. You can check that out there. It's called How to Harness Grit to Help Students Thrive. I appreciate everybody that supports that particular workshop. I know you have so many voices. There's not a lot of there is diversity on that platform, but I would say it's one of those things, like, it's just an honor to be on that platform and to be a voice among so many other leaders that are doing so many fabulous things in the math space and in education in general. So I'm just grateful to be a diverse voice on that platform and to just train you guys more one-on-one if you're really wanting to know about grit and how that really applies to you. Because I'm going to be honest, we can only complain for so long because of data or because of how things are going. But after a while, we have to start taking accountability and doing what we can to combat anything that would stop us from helping students to achieve goals. And I know that building grit is one of those ways that you can do that. So it's nice, it's sweet, it's short on that platform with the Grassroots Workshops. So check it out when you get a chance. Grit Academy is here for you guys for online tutoring and learning. So check that out whenever you get a chance as well. Also, Grit calendars have been launched. If you're wanting a calendar for the school year, just let us know and we will get that to you. And again, for those wondering about this podcast, if you're trying to close the achievement gap, but you're having classroom management issues, especially with students of diverse backgrounds, because nobody can really speak to that area of expertise except for us that have walked in those shoes. And that's why we are needed in this space in education. And I'm thankful for everybody that has given us an opportunity, to speak and to help you in your journey as you're trying to bridge the achievement gap. Also, this platform is if you're trying to motivate students and they're just not motivated to do work, feel free to join me here. I might not have all the answers, but I know I have some solutions that you can implement nationwide that aren't respective persons. We can get the job done together. So with that said, I do want to talk today about using grit for student success. I'll be talking about student success, teachers, and how you can be successful as a teacher as well as you're building grit. The thing I love is that grit is starting to really take off online. If you search up grit for student success, teachers, and things, you're going to find so many different resources and so many voices that are speaking to this. Teachers that are coaching other teachers, professionals, and just experts that are really speaking about it. So I'm super excited about it and thankful. So with that said, I do want to talk a little bit about that today and talking about tips for grit and student success. So my tips for you guys would be, for one, to focus on resilience. And so I was thinking about this. I said, what is missing? Why are people falling short? There's an art to resilience. And I think that students don't know that. And so what happens is this. They get involved, whether it's math or another subject area. There's that productive struggle, and they're on their way towards that, the cultural competency and all that stuff. And then they start feeling like a failure because they don't get it in the first try, or it's taking so long to get it. So then they retreat and they start feeling like, oh, this just isn't for me. And then they accept a fate of, see, I told you, this isn't for me. And this usually happens when students give their best shot. So you're talking about grades K-5. And then, of course, if this isn't changed, this trickles throughout all their, other academic years. And then that affects who they are as learners. It affects their learning style. It affects their self-efficacy, who they think they are as a learner. Then they can also battle with imposter syndrome when they grow older. And then when they get promoted and things like that, they feel like they're not worthy, like they shouldn't have been selected. And they fight that imposter syndrome and all these things. So I thought about it. I said, so the thing is, we have to focus on that resilience piece, building grit, focusing on the resilience as you're building grit. And so one thing I would recommend as you're doing this is to teach resilience and to teach, like, what does it look like when you're really building that resilience and building grit? And that means you might have to have students one-on-one as you're seeing them work out problems. And one thing you can do, educators, is assign a problem that is a little bit tougher. Like, maybe they know a little bit of the, content, whether it's math, whatever. Assign something that's a little bit tougher and see how their reasoning. See, when do they start fainting? Like, when do they start giving up? Listen to what they're saying, whether it's to themselves or about the content. How do they react? How do they respond? Okay. I would say take that in. But you got to really know your kids. Like, you got to really understand that. So as they are responding, then that's when you take a pause and you reflect. And, when you're reflecting with them, you go over, of course, you help them, you walk them through the problem, but then you go through their mindset. Did they have a growth mindset? Were they a little bit fixed? Why were they saying, oh, I can't do math. Oh, I don't even want to try this. I don't even like what's going on. And then that's when you start to correct and you start to help them to have better thought processes as they're moving forward and progressing in that particular class. So it's an art to this. But once you walk them through that first time, try to do it another 2 or 3 times, because a student needs to understand what type of learner they are. For one, they need to see, yes, I am a math person because I'm a learner. I'm always learning. And then they need to ignore and avoid those voices that say anything different. You kind of have to help them with that. So it's imperative that you figure out what type of learner are they? Are they visual, audio, bodily kinesthetic? Do they like music, spatial? What are they? And tap into that and help them. Okay. So then I would say encourage them. You'd be amazed how many kids don't get encouragement. They just feel like life has been dumped on them. And they don't look forward to going home. Oh, excuse me. They don't look forward to going home. They don't look forward to um, any type of feedback from other educators. Maybe they just feel like they're on an island by themselves trying to learn all this math and English and everything else. So they could use a push from you. So I want you to remember that, okay, with those kiddos. And then encouraging them. I have some little grit posters and things that you can use to, motivate your kiddos. That kind of, it's like, positive affirmation, I can statements and things that I think is important for building grit and that resiliency for your students. So you can implement something like that, and that can help. I would also say to make sure that you're helping students with goal setting, okay, because this is imperative for them. So, we've talked about having resilience. We've talked about encouraging our students. And now I want to talk with you about helping them to really set goals. See, students come to us and like they're hungry to learn. And I'm telling you, especially at the beginning of the year, they're like sponges. They love you. If you're a good person, a good-hearted person, your kids are going to just naturally love you. So it's really a cool place to be, to start building trust and to also help them with goal setting. So how do you help them build goals? Well, get a calendar out, start planning some things at the beginning of the year, let them know that your class actually has traction to it, that there's actually things that you're aspiring for them to do and goals that you're aspiring for them to meet, okay, so that they can remain motivated and meet those goals and surpass your expectations. I'm telling you, when you do grit right, they always exceed your expectations. I've never seen a kid who was gritty not go beyond what was the goal for them. So it's just really cool. And some ways to do that, you can plan it. You can do there's little planning journals and things you can use. I have a grit calendar, as I told you guys before. There's so many different things at your reach that you can do to really help build grit for your kids. So with that said, these are some really cool tips to keep in mind as you're trying to use grit for student success. So now I want to pull up and share my screen for you guys. There's some things that I was able to find. It's always good whenever you find other people that are speaking about your topic. So this rock star here, she talks to beginning teachers. So she says, grit is the secret to thriving as a new teacher. And I say amen to that. So let's listen to her.
That's where grittiness comes in. It's in that messy middle. It's in those middle months of the year when you cannot go to sleep because your brain is on overdrive. And then you wake up and doubt yourself every single day. And if it sounds like I know all about this, it's because I do. When you're in that daily slog, when you start questioning everything, this is when champions are made. This is when you dig deep. This is when you make the choice every single day to keep going, especially when it's hard.
That's good. So that's cool. She's kind of talking about how you keep going in the midst of the mess. She has so much that she's just kind of poured her heart out on. I'm going to share a little bit more of what she has to say regarding grit. She had some really cool things, but I was pretty impressed to see what she was talking about.
It's a daily choice. It's so much easier to give up. But that perseverance, that is what's going to eventually turn around your classroom environment and deeply impact your students. You have to look forward to when you stay gritty, when you stick with it. You too are going to start to experience that moment when practice and skill are in balance. It's just like Olympic athletes who put in years of grueling practice to perform effortlessly at the games. Teaching is exactly the same. Don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. They've just put in more hours. So let's talk about 4 practical ways to develop.
I like that. She's going to talk about 4 ways to develop grit. It's about saying, looking at yourself saying, can I change? basically having that growth mindset. I'm just trying to honor her. I don't want, anything to happen regarding the video being flagged, because a couple of my podcasts have been flagged. Go Gators. But anyway, so that was pretty cool. She was, talking to us about those different things. I now want to also remind you, as you're doing this, to continue to also build self-efficacy with your students as you're building grit. Because yes, they're setting goals. Yes, they're resilient, but sometimes they might not believe in themselves. They might have gone through trauma, personally, or even in the academic space. They might have a parent or a loved one, a guardian, that speaks against, their subject area, and actually is an enabler and just says, I was bad at it. So, hey, it's okay if you're bad at it. So it says, what is grit? 8 things that you're doing or that you're not doing that actually work, by Rob Huang. Okay, thank you, Rob, for that. And he says, he's talking about his friend Anna. She is not by any definition a natural runner. When she signed up for her first marathon, she was the first person who got winded walking up a steep flight of stairs. First few weeks of training were rough. Her shins were screaming, lungs burned. Every single morning, her brain gave her 1,000 very convincing reasons to just stay in bed. And I think we've all been there. Says many people would have quit. And honestly, nobody, right, would have blamed her, but she did not. So last April, he stood in a crowded street corner watching her cross that finish line, exhausted and limping, but with a massive, glowing smile on her face. What was the secret sauce? Is it talent? Is it luck? Some superhuman gene? Nope. It's grit. So here's another example, guys. It's grit. And the good news, you can learn it too. So what is grit really, right? So they talk about the queen, Dr. Angela Duckworth, and when she talks about with grit, she says that after studying everyone from West Point to National Spelling Bee Championships, she saw that it was grit is passion and perseverance for very long-term goals. I think you can have grit even in short-term goals. And that's why I talk about how grit is having great resilience in time, right? And so let's keep going. So he's going to give us some practical strategies for building grit. So the first things first, it says here, talk to yourself like a coach and not a critic. So he gives us some pointers. Talk to yourself like a coach, not a critic. What you're probably doing, you're berating yourself when you mess up. What you need to do instead is use instructional and motivational self-talk. That's those affirmation statements. Okay. So for instance, it says, when you mess up, it says, you idiot, you always do this. Or is it, no, it's okay that it didn't work. What can we try next time? Let's refocus. Okay. It talks about elite athletes and performers. They know the secret. So according to research, a good coach wouldn't scream that you're worthless. Instead, they'd be willing to point out that mistake and to remind you that you have what it takes to fix it. So be your own coach. I like that. That's pretty good. Okay. Next. Look here. 417 daily positive affirmations for better personal growth. Good. It says practice deliberately, not mindlessly. So it says what you're probably doing, putting it out in 10,000 hours of the same old thing, what to do instead. Focus. So it says what to do instead. Focus on what you can't do. That's good, because your mind does get kind of bored whenever you're doing the same thing, right? So it says, coined by the psychologist Anders Ericsson, deliberate practice involves breaking down a skill, zeroing in on specific weakness, and working on it with intense focus and immediate feedback. So try this. Whenever you're working on a task, ask yourself on goal, or connect that goal, to something bigger than yourself. So this is interesting. So Duckworth found that people, they don't have just a goal, they have an ultimate concern. So what is your ultimate concern? That's something to consider, right? So it says, try this. Ask yourself, why? 5 times. So why do I need this? To get a better job. Why? To have more financial security. Why? So I can have less worry and be more present with my family. Why? Because there's a meaningful life looks, or that's what a meaningful life looks like to me. Okay. And then boom, there's your fuel. I like that. Adopt a growth mindset. We have talks about this a million times and we're not done. So it says there's a fixed mindset, people that believe their abilities are set in stone. And when they fail, it's a verdict. Growth mindset is when they fail, it's a lesson. Okay. So instead of like, here's a great example they have. The next time you catch yourself thinking, oh, I'm terrible at public speaking, call me. Anyway, it says stop and add the magic word. I'm not great at public speaking yet. So the power of yet, we've heard that too, right? It's a small tweak that reframes the entire challenge from a dead end to a journey. Okay, so you can harness your inner thoughts. I like that. Okay. And then build your grit crew. I like that. Surround yourself with gritty people. Grit is contagious. The attitudes and habits of people around you, they directly influence your own perseverance. So when your friends are pushing you through their struggles, your challenges feel more manageable. They normalize the process. So get a mentor, get a best friend, right? And then of course it says learn to love the plateau. So remember, life does go in ups and downs. And they talk about the author Seth Godin. He talks about the dip, the long, hard slog between starting something new and finally achieving mastery. So we can go on and on and on about that. I thought that was pretty cool what we were able to cover when it comes down to that. But I did find something else that I wanted to share with us. Another person that was able to kind of talk to us about how grit helps in schools. It's talking about grit and how it impacts academic success.
Students seem to thrive in school while others struggle, even when they have similar abilities. The answer often lies in grit. Grit is the combination of passion and perseverance toward long-term goals. For high school students, this means sticking with their studies and pushing through challenges like tough classes, heavy workloads, or personal issues. So, how does grit really affect academic success? First, students with grit are persistent. They keep trying even when the work gets tough or when they face setbacks.
I like that. And you have to help them you have to help kiddos to continue to try in the face of setbacks, because they will get discouraged. And if they don't have hope from you, well, then how are they going to make it, right? Teachers are definitely one of the main factors of academic success for students. Thank you, Dr. John Hattie, for that research.
Determination helps them finish assignments and prepare for exams, leading to improvement over time. Handle stress and bounce back from disappointments. This ability to stay focused on their goals, even when feeling anxious or frustrated, is vital for success in school. Consistency is another benefit of grit. Students who maintain interest and effort over time are more likely to make steady progress toward their academic goals. They do not lose motivation easily or switch interests frequently.
I like that. And, that's what we need today for our students, because there's, they're lacking motivation at times and there's so many different distractions. So they do need to have a game plan to be able to succeed. And yes, having the student engagement, but having goals and teaching them how to persevere, in the face of whatever they're going through is key. So we can watch a little bit of that, more of that, and then we will kind of conclude here on our talks about grit.
They gain a sense of achievement that supports their future success in both academics and life. To apply these concepts, high school students can set clear academic goals to keep themselves motivated. Creating daily routines for study and self-care can help build good habits. It is also important to seek help when needed and view mistakes as learning opportunities.
So I think that's pretty interesting. We have to build a climate in our classrooms where students feel like they can approach us. Are we approachable teachers? Are we approachable principals, to where teachers or parents or students, whatever, want to come and say, hey, I need another chance on that. I feel like I could do better or whatever. Are we approachable so that they can grow and see it as a learning opportunity? It's just something to think about. So with that said, I am so thankful I was able to join you guys today to talk about how we can use grit for student success. So thanks again for tuning in to the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. This podcast will be featured on the X Factor EU Network is hosted by Dr. Matthew Joseph. You can also find it on Spotify. You can also find it on all of my main social media channels. You've got Facebook is Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach. Instagram is India238. YouTube is India White 123. And TikTok is Dr. India White. Check out the website, www.india-white.com. For books, blogs, or to schedule me for an event. Thank you to those that have me coming to these various events. The Math Ed Conference. Looking forward to seeing you guys there. The NCSM and NCTM conferences. Let's do this. Making Math Moments Conference and the Black Kids Love Math Summit. Thank you to those that have supported us in that community and that support diverse African-American leaders like myself. Thank you so, so much. Also remember the Grit mini workshop, which is on the Grassroots Workshops website. It's titled How to Harness Grit to Help Students Thrive. And then remember the Grit Academy for online tutoring support. I have families come to me left and right. Thank you so much for your support on that. And remember, if you're trying to close the achievement gap, but you're having a problem with classroom management issues or students aren't motivated to do the work, then join me here on Thursdays on the Grit and Equity Talks podcast, and we will get through it together. Make sure also that you get an order of your Grit calendar. And no matter what you do, take Grit with you. Keep that great resilience in time, guys. Okay. Thank you so much again for being fabulous and for joining me on the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with Dr. India White. So with that said, guys, stay gritty. See ya.